take it.
Yeah.
I'm not
So you're
crossing the
refusing
road.
to leave?
I'm refusing to leave.
Why?
Because I'm a Jew, I'm a citizen, and I'm your boss. And I don't leave if you say Jews aren't
Well, you know
allowed on
what?
the street.
In the interest of keeping peace here and public safety, you're under arrest for breach of the peace. Take a minute. Good.
People fault you for getting into these situations and then setting up a fundraiser, or not even a fundraiser, to raise funds. I guess that's what it's called, so that you can pursue legal action. And I can say from a critical perspective, it's a factually true statement. The things happen. You go, whether or not you're looking for trouble, and then you find it, and then you say, well, now I want to call on the community so I can make an example of this. And on the one hand, I say, if you don't like it, don't support it. On the other hand, the world needs this type of activism to some extent. You're a journalist, but there's no, it's not illegal to be something of an activist journalist, or at the very least, a proactive journalist. And I say, when these things happen, you need to raise awareness for this, and you need to make an example out of it. And then segueing into the question is, are you going to take action, or what legal action, if you know of, against Officer McDuffie or whoever the heck else is responsible for this?
Sure. So all I was doing there was standing on my own sidewalk, not talking to anyone, wanting to photograph an anti-Semitic display in my neighborhood. And that was called inciting the breach of the peace, and I was arrested for that. I'm sorry, that's not my fault. I put up today a larger video. I forgot that I had my cell phone on the whole time recording everything. And when I was arrested, I sort of lost control of my phone. And I sort of assumed that that video had been lost, but actually it wasn't. We just posted it again today. So your viewers, you can find that it's pinned to my Twitter feed today, Ezra Levant.
That's the 10-minute, 48-second video, right?
Yeah. And you can hear every word I say. And I'm so, frankly, submissive to the cops. I say, can I go there? Will you come with me? Thank you. Okay, let's go. And then I object when he's pushing me away, but I yield. I don't resist arrest. I was only arrested when the cop didn't like me saying, you work for me. That's literally what did it. I was actually removed from the Hamas area by the time that happened. So the fact that I'm arrested for what I just described, it's not my fault and it's not my desire. The fact that my colleague David Menzies has been arrested 5 times, let me tell you what those 5 times are. You probably remember the one where Chrystia Freeland, the deputy prime minister, was walking into a building, and David Menzies asked her a legitimate question about why she hadn't criminalized a particular terrorist group called the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And her bodyguards jumped out of the blue, slammed him against the wall, and said, "You're under arrest for assault."
Ms. Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-nationalism? What? Excuse me. What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault. Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
Who are you?
You're under arrest for assault. Police, you're under arrest for assault.
How am I under arrest? You bumped into me.
You pushed into me.
I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here, and you just bumped into me. So excuse
Police, you're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge?
Oh, David, you planned that. No, sorry.
That was the one, if I'm not mistaken, there was a guy like bumped shoulders with him as he was walking, and then stops and says, assault. It's like, assault.
Oh, they assaulted him. Like they sort of ran to where he was going. He brushed up against them in the lightest of way. And then they said, you assaulted us. If it weren't for our camera there, David would probably be convicted of assault because those cops were so easily lying. David was arrested the same place I was 2 weeks ago. And he's been, like, the cops arrest him for an obvious, I'd say 3 obvious reasons. Number one, they're woke in general. So they have an oppressor-oppressed matrix. And David is a 60-something white man conservative. So obviously he's oppressor, arrested him. More to the point, path of least resistance. David's not going to fight back, as opposed to a mob of Hamas activists, many of whom are not even Canadian citizens. And finally, the political bosses, the mayor of Toronto, the prime minister of Canada, they can do the math. Canada has had a massive demographic change in the last 10 years. There's 2 million Muslims in Canada. Now, thank God, not all are terrorist supporters, but a number of them are. And Melanie Joly, our foreign minister herself, said her riding's demographics compel her to be anti-Israel. Like they're not even hiding it.
What am I doing here? Huh? Hey! Folks, this is Sharia law that you're seeing on the eve of Remembrance Day. These officers are disobeying their oath. They are assaulting me. They are bending the knee to the Islamo-Nazis.
So, but let me throw one more thing to you as a counterpoint. We've done journalism in the UK, in Australia, in America, in France, in the Netherlands. Let me talk about Switzerland. I've gone to Switzerland every year for the World Economic Forum, and they don't credential me. So we applied to get in. They don't let us in their inner sanctum. So we're sort of standing outside the heavily armed castle, and the drawbridge comes down, and some of these VVIPs sort of walk out amongst the peasants where me and our cameras are. And there are cops everywhere, and they've got serious semi-automatic rifles. Like they look like counterterrorism police. Davos, this is the World Economic Forum. This is Klaus Schwab's thing. This is the George Soros thing, the Larry Fink thing. This is the masters of the universe are there. And they come, there's no bodyguards there. Like there's Tony Blair, former UK Prime Minister. There's John Kerry. There's like all these VVIPs are in the street, and you can walk right up to them. Like I scrummed the CEO of Pfizer. I don't know if you saw that. My buddy
Albert Bourla, right?
Yeah,
I love that. I'll see if I can find that while you're talking. How you just stumble across him, walk with him. I think he didn't answer very many questions. Let me.
He didn't answer any questions. But so we're standing out there. Basically, I'm calling it a drawbridge. There's this high security perimeter that to get in, you have to be accredited, and you have all these name tags. So, and so they spend a lot of their time in the castle, I'm calling it, but then they come out into the town. It's a lovely town. It would be like Banff or Aspen. It's a Swiss Alps, beautiful ski town. And we're out there shivering in the cold, and we're trying to visually ID these VVIPs. Some of them will chat with you. Senator Kerry, John Kerry, he'll chat. We probably chat with him 5 times every year. He's just coming and going. He doesn't care. He'll talk to us. Albert Bourla comes out. And I think, oh my God, I know that guy. And we sort of walk and scrum with him, and he tries to get away from us. We don't block him, but we're walking right next to him. We got our microphone right next to him. And the cops, here's my point. The cops are everywhere. They're watching us like a hawk, but they don't say a word. They don't approach. As long as we don't touch the VVIP or threaten them, what do they care? It's politics. It's journalism. They don't care. In Switzerland, I have interviewed pound for pound more serious political leaders than my entire life combined. And the police don't do a thing. Here, yeah, pump it up. Show this a little bit.
Yeah, I just had it on mute because it's more
you're right. But so you can see how close I am. Like, actually, I probably inadvertently brush up against him and vice versa. And you could probably see the cops, like you can see some of the barriers there. I call that the drawbridge. You can see we're sort of surrounding him. There's actually 4 of us.
I mean, it wouldn't be comfortable if you're devil incarnate. By the way, you're asking him questions, obvious questions. He doesn't say a word, so nobody's missing anything from the audio.
Yeah, I asked him about myocarditis. I asked him about the efficacy of the vaccines. I asked him about product liability. We asked him about a 2.3. Like, we asked him a lot of good questions.
When did you know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission? How long did you know that without saying it publicly?
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Answer that question. I mean, we now know that the vaccines didn't stop transmission, but why did you keep it secret? You said it was 100% effective, then 90%, then 80%, then 70%. But we now know that the vaccines do not stop transmission. Why did you keep that secret?
Have a nice day.
I won't have a nice day until I know the answer. Why did you keep it a secret that your vaccine did not stop transmission?
Is it time to apologise to the world, sir? To give refunds back to the countries that poured all their money into your vaccine that doesn't work, your ineffective vaccine?
He didn't say a word, but my point to you is only in Canada do you get arrested for that. Well, probably some authoritarian regimes also. I'm in the Netherlands. I was in the Netherlands for there was a riot, an anti-Semitic riot in Amsterdam about 2 weeks ago. So I flew straight to Amsterdam, and I got right into the heart of an anti-Semitic protest, and there were cops with riot shields. They said, "Who are you?" I said, "Rebel News from Canada," and my videographer showed our ID. They said, "Fine, you can go." Like, they were almost rolling out the red carpet. So that's how real liberal democracy. I mean, most countries in the world don't arrest journalists. I mean, Turkey does, and Iran does, and Russia does, and I think Ukraine does actually. Canada has arrested 6 Rebel News, me and David Menzies 5 times, 6. And I'm sorry, don't tell me that's me asking for it. No, standing on a sidewalk is not asking for it. And of course I'm going to fundraise. How else am I going to pay for my lawyers? Our legal fees are about $500,000 a year.
No, it's a criticism that people issue, but I say, like, on the one hand, if you don't, what they're basically saying is shut up and sit down. Don't get involved.
Well, you know what? During the trucker convoy, there was only one shooting. It was a very peaceful. There was no violence across the entire trucker convoy. There was one shooting, and I think you know what it was. An RCMP officer in Ottawa. Like, what are the odds? There were thousands of people there in Ottawa, maybe tens of thousands at the height. What are the odds that the one person who was shot by the RCMP was our reporter, Alexa Lavoie, shot not with a bullet, but by a riot gun, the wadding of a riot gun.
The tear gas. It was a tear gas canister, a big one. I saw that. I mean, we all saw the welt that it left. Yeah, point blank, press credentials as they're unleashing.
And she's holding, and she's just standing there holding a camera.
Oh!
Like, and we're suing them, and we've got the sort of manual, that, like, the user's manual for that gun. And not only did he use the gun inappropriately, you don't shoot at a person with the gun. You shoot into, like, at the ground near a crowd. And second of all, he violated the standing orders. They only use that riot gun if things become imminent and riotous. It was just a noisy protest. So the cop violated the manual. You don't shoot that at a human, and he violated his standing orders. There was no cause to use that. You keep that in abeyance for a riot. He shoots our. Now, what am I supposed to do? Oh, well, shucks. Sorry, Alexa. That's just how it is in Canada. Or do you say, not on my watch, we're going to sue these people till kingdom come, and maybe one day they'll stop arresting us? In Australia, we have a super reporter named Avi Amini. He was arrested 5 times. He would go to these Antifa protests. Cops would scoop him up, say the same things they're saying to me. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're inciting a disturbance. Put him in the back of a van, drive him 20 kilometers away, and dump him on the side of the road. So by the time he got back to the protest, it was over. It was clear what they were doing. They were removing the guy who was causing them extra work. We sued them, and finally the Victoria Police apologized to Avi, and now they don't touch him.
Not here is not here for any purpose of reason. He's under arrest. But this guy here is going to be placed under arrest right now. Well, I'm under arrest.
I am media. I'm media. I've got my permit in my pocket. My permit is in my pocket.
Now what's going to happen now? You're getting released with inquiries pending.
So I'm getting released pending inquiry?
Yep. And then, but I'm going to give you a direction to move on, all right? So you're not allowed in the Albert Park precinct for the next 24 hours.
Excuse me, media.
And I just don't accept the fact that in Canada, it's normalized that you can arrest or even, God forbid, shoot or handcuff or beat up journalists who are contrarian. And I think everyone used to know this until about 5 minutes ago when Justin Trudeau subsidized all the journalists. So everyone is so eager not to offend Trudeau and stop the gravy train. We're one of the very few media in Canada that don't take money from Trudeau. He hates the fact he can't control us. You know, let me give you an example of the hatred. For some weird reason, Justin Trudeau nationalized the leaders' debates in this country. Like the presidential debates in America, he nationalized the debates for prime minister in this country. What? Who asked him to do that? In America, it's universities or media consortiums. That's all how it's been in Canada too. No, Trudeau took it over, created an agency called the Debates Commission, and stacked it with his friends. David Johnson, longtime family friend, Craig Kielburger, friend. And surprise, surprise, they banned Rebel News from attending, not from being on the stage.
No, this was the one I was going to raise as one of the good lawfares that you waged that they asked for when they didn't credential Rebel News to attend the debates. And you say, how are you determining this? Oh, well, we recognize it on a case-by-case basis and willy-nilly decide Rebel News is not going to attend.
So they banned us. Well, what do? Oh, well, I better not get a lawyer. I better not crowdfund a lawyer because someone might call me a grifter. You know what? I'm going to fight for freedom. I don't care what you call me. The very fact that I don't take money from the government and that I'm demonetized from YouTube shows you that I'm the least compromised journalist in the country. So we crowdfunded the money. We hired a lawyer. We went to court. We won. And by the way, we won in our name. But didn't we win for press freedom everywhere? The judge ordered them to credential us and said, you can't pick and choose. You can't select the journalists who are allowed to attend a government event. So 2 years later, they do the same thing again in the 2021 election. But this time they're smarter. They reverse engineer their rejection letter based on that first judge's ruling. So in 2019, a judge says, hell no. You didn't give them proper reasons. You didn't have the rules clear in advance. You didn't have the right person tell them. Boy, they studied that. They must have spent $100,000 on legal advice, because when they rejected us in 2021, they had like an 11-page explanation for why we were rejected. They had huge rules that were so intricate. We went to court. I thought, there's no way. They've had 2 years to perfect their reasons for keeping us out. Bam, we won again. They were ordered to credential us. We sent our journalists there. The ink on the court ruling wasn't even dry. Our reporters asked questions of the prime minister. He says, I don't even talk to you people. I'm not even going to call you a news organization. You spread hatred.
Mr. Trudeau, the only reason that I'm allowed to ask you this question is because today the federal court ruled that the government doesn't have the right to determine who is or is not a journalist. This is the second election in a row that the court had to overturn your government. Do you still insist on being able to make that decision, and why?
First of all, questions around accreditation were handled by the press gallery and the consortium of networks who have strong perspectives on quality journalism and the important information that is shared with Canadians. The reality is, organizations like yours that continue to spread misinformation and disinformation on the science around vaccines, around how we're going to actually get through this pandemic and be there for each other and keep our kids safe, is part of why we're seeing such unfortunate anger and lack of understanding of basic science. And quite frankly, I won't call it a media organization, your group of individuals need to take accountability for some of the polarization that we're seeing in this country. And I think Canadians are cluing into the fact that there is a really important decision we take about the kind of country we want to see. And I salute all extraordinary, hardworking journalists that put science and facts at the heart of what they do and ask me tough questions every day, but make sure that they are educating and informing Canadians from a broad range of perspectives, which is the last thing that you guys do.
He is a menace. And you're damn straight, I'm going to sue him every bloody time. As long as I have money to hire lawyers, I'm going to sue him or this thug cop who says, I'm the law.
Here's where I want you to stand, okay?
I know you want me to stand here, but you're not the law.
Well, I am the law.
No, you're not the law, sir.
So,
you're a servant of the law. You are not the law.
No, you're not, brother. And if it takes a judge to tell you that, so be it.